mates, today we're going to be talking about how to get our off-shoulder sleeve, off-shoulder neckline, crotch depth for trousers and jumpsuits, and so much more. In case you've not watched the previous videos, please do well to go and watch it because this is a continuation of the videos that we did the last time. Okay, so my name is Justice and this is the Honest Fashion House and Academy. If you've not subscribed, do well to subscribe and let's go in. Okay, so we're going to be doing calculation for off-shoulder neckline. To get our off-shoulder neckline, what we're going to be doing is to add 1 inch to our bust band measurement. So from the previous class, our bust band measurement was or is 3.75, and we know how we got that calculation in case you did not measure it. So what we're going to do now is 3.75 plus 1 inch. That will give us 4.75. This is our bust span, and this is our off-shoulder neckline. Don't mind the writing, okay? So the bust span is in our nipple to nipple measurement, and our off-shoulder neckline is just around there. So I'm going to show us how to impute this calculation on our pattern or the dress that we're about to make. So we assume that this is our fabric, and from the top of the fabric or from measurement, we're going to come down by how deep we want the neckline to be. So this is how deep we want the neckline to be. This is going to be our armhole line, this is our bust line, and this is our under bust and our waist line. Okay, so on this how deep we want the neckline to come down, we're going to mark our 4.75, and this is our armhole. So from this 4.75, we're going to connect to the armhole like so. Now, if we need to tighten this neckline, for this part of the neckline, we have not tightened it. If we need to tighten it, whatever we tighten, we're going to add it back so that it will not be shorter than the measurements that we have. So if this is our bust span and we want to tighten it, we know that we're going to take away something from here, either from one side or from both sides, and connect to this point, right? So I'll take half an inch here and 0.75 or 1 inch on this side and connect to my bust point. So whatever I take away here, I want to make sure that my neckline still remains 4.75. So I'll be going in on the armhole area and reconnect it back. When I tighten this place, it's going to come back to normal. I hope this is understood. So that is how to go about our off-shoulder neckline. Now note that this measurement of bust span plus 1 inch is not going to be completely off. It's going to come on our shoulder line, just a bit towards the shoulder. So it's going to hang on the shoulders. It's not going to fall directly outside the shoulders. But it depends on how we fix our sleeve. Now, if we want to fix a strap, we want to fix it on this point here, off. If we now want to fix the sleeve that is completely going to be off and come this way, we're going to fix it from here to this point. That will mean that our neckline is going to also come into our front neckline, right? It's going to come into this part. There are some dresses you see the joining is just by this side off, and some it comes into the neckline a bit deep into the neckline. So it all depends on whatever it is that you mark as your neckline on this area. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Okay, so the next we're going to be talking about is our off-shoulder sleeve. How do we get the calculation? Now, to get the calculation for our off-shoulder sleeve, we're going to also be making use of this off-shoulder line measurement. Okay, so since we have on this front 4.75, we assume the back is also going to be 4.75. So we're going to put 4.75 plus 4.75. Remember that this is unfold. So 4.75, when you unfold it, it's going to be 9.2. So 9.2 for the front, 9.2 for the back, it's going to give us us 18.5, right? 18.5. So what we are going to do next is to get our round shoulder measurement. We get our round shoulder measurement. So whatever your round shoulder measurement is giving you, let's assume it is 40. We're going to be minusing 18.5 from 40. So this is 40 minus 18.5. What is it going to give us? This is about 21.5, right? So 21.5, we're going to divide it by 4. Now, when you divide 21.5, it should be around 5 point something, okay? So the 5 point something that it is going to give us, or 5.3, whichever one that it gives us, this is what we are going to use to mark our off-shoulder sleeve. Okay, so to mark this off-shoulder sleeve, we are going to this is going to be our sleeve, right? So the 5 point something that we get, we are going to mark it on this part to wherever it stops. This is where we are going to mark it. So our armhole is going to be somewhere around there to connect it. Now, how to get the depth of this armhole where we're going to connect our off-shoulder sleeve? That is called the cap height. The cap height is that which we are connecting to this point. How to know the depth of this off shoulder is known as the cap height. So to get the cap height, we're going to do bust divide by 12 plus 1. Bust divide by 12 plus 1. Whatever your bust divide by 12 plus 1 gives you, that is the cap height. So we measure it from here to where it's going to stop. That will enable us to mark our armhole depth on that part. Now for this one that goes this way, the cap height is coming this way. Now this one that goes this way, to know exactly the measurement that we need from here to the armhole is known as the bicep. The bicep or biceps. Okay, how we are going to determine this bicep is still using our bust circumference, right? Divide by 6 plus 1.5. This is the same as the armhole depth. This is where we're going to mark it. So whatever this measurement gives you, this calculation, whatever it gives you, that is what you're marking from here to this point. And so you'll be able to connect your armhole. When you're connecting your armhole, it should not be quite curvy like this. If you make it this way, it's going to be tight. So you want to make it slightly curved. Give it some space, okay? So that you'll be able to raise your hand up. I hope this makes sense to you. We're going over to something else. Next on our list is our crotch depth, okay? For us to get our crotch depth, our hip circumference is going to play the major role. So the hip circumference we're working with is 40. This is our hip divided by 4. Now, if we want it to be a normal waistline hip, we're going to leave it at 4. If we want it to be a high waist, we're going to be adding to it. And if we want it to be low waist, we're going to removing from it. So for a normal waistline, we're going to have hip divided by 4. So let's assume our hip is 40 divided by 4. That is going to give us 10. If we want it to be low waist, right, we're going to minus 1, and that will give us 9. If you want it to be high waist, we're going to plus 1, and that will give us 10 plus 1, not 9 plus 1, 10 plus 1, and that will give us 11 inches. So to impute this on our measurement, this is like our paper for trouser block. And so to determine where we're going to impute our crotch depth, from the top of the paper, this is our waistline, we're going to mark our hip length from here to here, and still from the waist, we're going to mark our crotch depth. Okay, so any of these measurements that we're using, we're taking it from here to where the crotch depth is, and we'll rule it across. That is our crotch depth. Okay. Now to get the crotch extension, we're going to be dividing our hip for the front. We are going to be dividing it by 20, and for the back, we are going to be dividing it by 10. So if our hip is 40, we divide by 20. That is going to give us 2 inches. And if our hip is also 40, we divide by 10, it is going to be giving us 4 inches. This is for the back, and this is for the front. Okay, so to impute this measurement on our trouser block, we mark from here to here our hip circumference, from here to here our hip circumference. Now from this hip line here, we are going to measure 2 inches, and from towards the hip line, we're going to connect to the 2 inches. So this becomes our crotch extension. This line here is our crotch extension, and this is the curve. I hope this makes sense to who is listening to me. So in next classes and the previous classes, we've drafted how to make a good trouser, a good pant. So if you've not watched any of these videos, you can go back and watch them again. And we're still going to draft a normal trouser that anyone can wear. Now to get the crotch depth for our jumpsuit, this is what we're going to do. We've gotten our crotch depth for our trouser, so let's assume we're using the crotch depth of 10 inches for our trouser. Trouser crotch is 10 inches. Now we're going to be adding to this 10 inches to get our crotch for the jumpsuit. So basically, we're going to add 3 inches. But this 3 inches is not for everyone, right? If the person has a big tummy, 3 inches, depending on whatever you get as the hip circumference, divide by 4. We're going to be adding 3 inches to it. But if the person has a flat tummy, we can add 2.5 inches, and that is going to fit very well, because for me, I add 2.5 inches to my measurement and it fits very perfect. 3 inches is somewhat big for me, so 3 inches does not work for everybody. It depends on how big the person is, how big the stomach is. 2.5 to 3 inches, even 2 inches can still work. Now all what we have here are for fitted trousers. If you want this trouser to be loose, we're not going to be dividing our crotch by 20 for the front. We're going to be dividing by 16 to get our crotch extension. So instead of having hip divide by 20, we are going to be having hip divide by 16. Okay, hip divide by 16, that will make it to be loose instead of fitted. So whatever we get for the front, which is hip divide by 16, we are going to be adding 2 inches to it to get our back crotch extension. To get our back crotch extension, we are adding 2 inches to the answer that we have, and that will give us a nice fit for a loose trouser, maybe a baggy trouser, a palazzo trouser, something that we don't want it to be fitted or not. This works very well. I know so far you've enjoyed this class, and if you really do, please do what to subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Please be expecting it. Click like, share, watch, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.